Okay, here we go. Part 2. Went through this last week. Looks like I'm going to go through this again this week. So, for those of you who were here, man, oh man, this is really kind of frustrating. For those of you that were here, hope you can find your way back. I don't know what happened. Just trying to bring on somebody, you know, and that's the problem when you're not technically where you need to be. Okay, Charles, I see you, my dear, and I'm going to try to add you. But I was talking about the grand jury indictment and Christopher Hess over there in Dallas PD, and I don't know what this new DA is going to do. So I hope as I bring on my manager, Charles, that I don't lose you guys again. Oh, Jesus. Charles, I think I...
Here we go.
There's my guest. Welcome.
Hey, hey. Do I got enough light?
Can you hear me, sir?
Here, we'll do this. I hear you. There we go. Hey, hey, what's good?
Yeah, I see you now.
I hear you.
Yeah, I tried to bring you on the first time, and technology being what it is, yeah, so I guess you guys bear with me. The next time, I'm gonna just have to make a disclaimer right now, and I'll remind you next week if I do something, if I have a moment and I kick everybody off, just hold on, I'll start the machine up again, and we'll do this all over.
Hold on.
Yeah.
That's right.
Welcome, Charles. So I was just sharing with them about what's going on in Dallas right now, your hometown, with Christopher Hess and the Genevive Dawes shooting. I don't know if you saw the video that was just released a few days ago. Young woman sleeping in her car. And officers, 5 o'clock in the morning, saw her sleeping in the car. She woke up startled, as you might imagine you would be, started the engine, began to move the car. They shot 13 times and killed her. So the video has just been released. And hey, Kat. Hey, Kat, what's up? Welcome. I was just asking about you the other day, so I really appreciate you, sir, for stopping by. As you guys come on, share again on your Facebook time feed so that others can see what we're doing. Yeah. So anyway, so there's a grand jury indictment of this officer, and I'm wondering how that's going to play with this new DA that you guys have. Do you know who replaced Faith Johnson? I know she was voted out.
No, I don't know the guy's name. I know Faith was voted out though, but I wasn't watching that race as close.
Okay.
But you know there was reservations about Faith. You know, in the last Troy Oliver case. You know there was reservations there. So, you know, hopefully things go differently this time.
And I was just surmising before I was just surmising before I lost my connection that, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
I hear you, yes.
So I was just wondering out loud if she was kind of maybe dragging her feet on the grand jury indictment on Botham Jean because she wasn't sure if she was going to have a job and was just kind of waiting to see. And of course, she doesn't have a job. So I'm wondering if that's why we have not heard much with regards to grand jury on Amber Geiger.
You know, I'm not sure on that one. You know, and you talked about it several different times about how they were handling that investigation from the chief of police all the way through. So I don't know. I know when they appeared, when she appeared at the church, when Roland Martin came down to Dallas, a lot of people were very angry that, and simply because they didn't understand how the law works. But I would rather not presume because, you know, I like to have the facts in my hand before I say, you know, this person was doing this. But you have to wonder, related to the political cycle, if she may have been stalling for some other, purpose. I would hate to presume on that though, but you just never know in this political season.
Right. And for those of you who didn't meet Charles last week, this is my manager, Charles Harper. And Charles Harper also has a day job.
Yes.
He's a school teacher. And Charles, before you came on, I was just talking a little bit about that music teacher who kind of lost his mind and did that thing that he did that's going to cost him to retire early. And I know that you have some thoughts about that because you've dealt with this situation personally.
Absolutely. Here's and I know a lot of people disagree with me when I gave my comment about it. And they were citing things such as this teacher has had to endure this child, he's 14-year-old boy, this child, saying derogatory things and things like that of him. Let me say this, it is that child's behavior, especially this late into the school year. And I don't know how long that child's been in that class, but this late into the school year, that child has already, the teacher has already set the tone in that classroom. That's one. So if that behavior has been consistent, it's still on the teacher. Why hasn't something been done to determine where this behavior is coming from? That's number one. Number two, his classroom management. Your classroom management dictates how the behavior and the tone of your classroom is going to be all year long. And you set that right on the first day, the very first day. Three, unless that student punched that teacher first, that teacher is going to be fired. He is going to get convicted of criminal assault and battery and a child abuse because he's an adult and that boy is a child. And he's never going to be a teacher again in the United States. So all the onus of the responsibility falls on that teacher. And I can understand people saying, he was calling the N-word and then he threw a basketball at him. Please, I have been called worse in a classroom by bigger people, okay, and bigger young people. And I had a situation, I think last week, where a student threatened that they were going to whip my ass. By the time I was done with that student was smiling and saying, my bad. Something happened with that student before he came into my classroom that made his behavior like that. And because I'm the teacher, I had to recognize that there's something going on with the student and take those appropriate steps to de-escalate the situation. And for those that are supporting the teacher and saying the student is out of hand, it's the same scenario with police and citizens. The onus of responsibility to de-escalate is on the officer, not on the citizen. Same thing in the classroom. The onus to de-escalate is on the teacher, not a 14-year-old child whose brain is not even developed yet. So I don't support the teacher at all. I'm sad that the teacher had to endure derogatory language. The student, trying to chest bump them and all that stuff, But as far as reaching out and punching this child, no, you get a no pass from me. And I deal with students. I got students who are 6'6" and 6'7". Come on. No, I can't support it at all. And for those people raising a GoFundMe, you are paying for the defense of somebody that has just committed child abuse. Let that one resonate for a second. So it's frustrating. You have to be so tolerant in the classroom and so patient. But if you set the tone of your classroom, empathy, tolerance, patience, all that at the outset, those kind of problems that this teacher was having are rare. So that's my bit on that. That teacher gets no support from me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's it's a tough job, and I understand the frustration, and I get why, a lot of people may have really rallied around this teacher in the beginning, and like I said, I think his GoFundMe is up to about 80,000. He's going to need all of that. He's going to need that and some more. So for those of you that are pulling for him and cheering for him, be prepared to do this for many months to come, because his legal defense fund is going to be over the top. it's going to be over the top. He's not going to want to leave this in the hands of a public defender who's going to try to get him to plead and maybe do a little jail time. If he really wants to stay out of jail, he's going to have to spend
Take
some
another
money.
career.
And so
he's going to get convicted of child abuse. Yeah. He's going to get convicted of child abuse. I don't know what job you get after that. So he's, you know, he's up shit creek. I'm sorry. That's just,
yeah,
that's just what it is.
I see someone
is
sharing with me that there was a female teacher that was assaulted and punched in the face. Listen, I don't deny that it's tough. It's a tough.
Oh, it happens.
It's a tough gig, and you know, shame on that school if they didn't suspend that student for striking that teacher. And you know, there may be some other variables that we don't know. Yeah. You know, I don't know how adamant the teacher may have been about. You know, it might have been a bleeding heart liberal teacher who just didn't want the kid to suffer any consequence. But, you know, for every choice, there is a consequence. And
absolutely.
And don't mistake it. There's a consequence for the teacher.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The student will face consequences. That's no doubt, whether it's they take the student and put him in an alternative school, something like this. They may even expel him and he'll have to go and, you know, graduate some other way if, you know, if he's going to finish school. But yeah, there's consequences, but nah, it's, you know, there's no reason that this should exist.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
So
it's unfortunate.
Now, I will say, if a child, like I said before, if a child hits you first, you have every right to defend yourself. And we're talking a hit, like a threatening hit, not a bump or, you know, throwing a basketball at him, trying to call the teacher out. I'm talking an all out, the child attacks the teacher, you have to defend yourself. But yeah, that's the culture of that classroom. Yup.
Yeah, Debo said, you know, it's human emotion and you have to control yourself. And that's, you know, that's a fact. I mean, like I said, it's tough. And you make a good point, Charles, in that, you know, we can't condone it in one occupation, teaching, and be vehemently opposed to it in another occupation, law enforcement. You don't get to put your hands on people because they don't respond in a way that is appropriate in your mind, because all of that is subjective, and respect is something that we all want. We all want respect. You know, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this, and I could talk about it because I think the statute of limitations is up. But you know, we all have a limit, and everybody can snap. And I was remembering a time I did talk about this. I was very careful, but I had an arrestee. You know, I'm kind of a dinosaur, so I'm gonna date myself, right? When I was first on the police department, we didn't have cage cars. You either had to sit in you sat in the back seat with an arrestee because you didn't want to have an arrestee behind you. There was no glass or anything between us. But once we with the cage cars, and then we had you know, like a chain link or whatever between the back and the front, then officers could sit in the front seat and you could put an arrestee in the back. And so I had a female arrestee who was a drunk, Deuce. I arrested her for drunk driving. She was in the back seat. I was in the front seat, passenger seat. She was behind me. And this lady did one of them things where you bring up some stuff, you know, from your stomach. I don't even want to make the sound that she made. So I knew what she was ready to do, right? This lady bought this thing up from her feet, and then she just hurled it at me. And it hit me on my neck. Thankfully, it hit me on my neck. But I tell you what, I tell you what, you know, you ever go and have a surgical procedure where they're asking you questions, and then when you come to, you say, oh, well, what are you going to do with it? The doctor say, we already done. That's kind of what it was came to, right? Because when I came to, I was in the back seat with her. I don't even know how I got in the back seat. My partner was driving. My partner told me he never stopped the car. Somehow I was able to get out the front, in the back, with the car still moving. And when I came to, we were pulling in the back of what's called Parker Center at the time. That's our jail ward. So we were pulling in the back of Parker Center. And I was, you know, I was dead ass wrong. I admit it. You know, she pissed me off in a real way. And I was prepared. I had already made up my mind. I was ready for whatever they were going to give me. because I lost it. I snapped.
Yeah.
And so I get
Yeah.
that
You know,
happened. But
you know what?
When it does, then you need to
walk
stand
out.
up. You need to put your big girl panties on and be ready for whatever the consequence is. Don't get all weepy.
Because
don't get all weepy.
That I'll tell you now, I'll walk out the classroom first. I will walk out the classroom first before I let it escalate that high where my patience is gone like that, where I'm getting ready to snap from something like that. Yeah, there are cases I've had to restrain kids. I've never had to hit a kid, ever. I've restrained kids, but I've never had to hit a kid. And if you don't have the patience to deal with that, to know that, hey, this is bubbling up and I'm about to snap, you need to walk out of that classroom, because that's not the job for you. I will walk out before I lose my job over something like that.
It seemed like the teacher was there, because for a minute on the video, you see him walk away. And then he seems to think better of it, I guess. I guess the kid must have sparked his competitive spirit, because he turned around and came back.
Yeah, maybe.
For me, when I watch the video, the thing that's problematic for me is that there was a young woman in a vest like a crossing guard, and she had managed with some other students to separate the teacher. And the teacher kind of went around her and pursued this kid in the classroom. And
wow,
that's going to be problematic. When there was some distance, when he had an opportunity to calm down, he couldn't reel himself back in. And I think that's going to
I think what plays into this too is not just, the patience of the teacher. I think we get into this situation where that old school model of teaching still kind of rests in our minds, where, there's a demand of respect from the student by the teacher. And I think we have to realize that we're at a state in society where those students aren't just walking in and are going to respect you simply because you're a teacher. That's not how that respect is earned. I have a rule in my class. My students don't even call me Mr. They just call me Harper. And the reason I do that is because when blacks were, liberated from slavery, kind of, right? Whites in the South demanded that blacks call them Mr. or Mrs. as a sign of respect. And I tell my students, you can call me Mr. when you feel that I've earned your respect. And my students call me Harper. Well, now they call me Mr., but I earned that by how I engage them. So this, again, it goes back to, how do you manage your classroom from the outset? From day one, what is the culture in that classroom? Is it a community, or is it, I'm the teacher authority, you're the student, be quiet and listen? And if you have that kind of dynamic, these flare-ups are going to happen. I had, just real quick, I had a student who walked out the classroom very angry, and they weren't even my student. They were someone else's student. And that's a long story, but the student walked out of my classroom, and I walked after him, not to chase him down, but to make sure that he was going to be okay, because he was very angry. One of my students stopped that student and said, hey, why are you walking away from Harper like that? That's not the teacher you want to walk away from. So that culture affects your students, and your students can help you affect other students. So it always go back to that, the onus being on that teacher in that classroom. That's just what it is. So
I agree. Well, listen, Charles, did you want to update everybody about what's going on with some of the outreach that we've in terms of our Comply and Complain tour?
Yeah, so sergeantdorseyspeaks.com. We are in talks right now with several universities of bringing this workshop, the Comply and Complain workshop, to the universities. And these universities that have reached out to us, they've reached out to us because Sergeant Dorsey has such an incredible platform of surviving the police. And her workshop includes implicit bias training and cultural awareness training, which is essential. What happened with the lady being shot here in Dallas in her car, implicit bias plays into that. The engagements that we see, and I was just on Bree TV, and that's why I'm late getting here with you. We were talking about this exact same thing with this culture that we have right now, how do we, aside from voting for the change that we want, how can we make communities safer and more together now, right now, and not waiting for laws to be enacted? This comply and complain workshop is how we do that. You walk out of the workshop with the tools, both the civilian and police, because this is not just for civilians. This workshop is for police officers as well. And so the universities are reaching out to us, and we're in talks to bring Sergeant Dorsey's workshop, Comply and Complain, to these universities. And they are so excited with what she is offering. And I'm going to say this to anybody listening. This workshop is something that you can use right now. Everybody wants a solution right now to this divisiveness in society, to this separation between cops and citizens, between whites, blacks, and any other races. This workshop can do that. This workshop can do that. So go to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks right now, SGTDORSEY speaks.com right now. Look up her workshop. Contact us. We are eager to bring this workshop, just like we're doing for the universities that's already contacted us. We in any community organization, any police department, this workshop is your right now solution. Hit up the website right now. Book this tour. Book this tour. That's what I
appreciate that, Charles. Thanks. And listen, we can't sit around and ask people to do right by us. We've seen that, police departments, police chiefs, commissioners, sheriffs, they don't really have an appetite for doing the things that we know we deserve, the things that are demanding.
Got to be
and
proactive.
So the onus is going to be on us to make sure that we know how to comport ourselves, and we try as best we can to be safe during those encounters. And of course, I make no guarantees, because the one variable that I don't have any control over is the knucklehead who stops you. I can't promise you if you get a Brian Encenia who stops you, or Darren Wilson, or an Anthony Pantaleo, that's the officer in New York who choked Eric Garner. I can't guarantee that you may not get a Michael Schlager, the officer who shot Walter Scott in the back. And by the way, as I'm saying these names, I'm just reminded, and I meant to mention this, listen, Betty Shelby, you guys, this heifer is still being treated like she did a good thing when she shot Crutcher in the back. For those of you that are on Facebook with me, if you go to my page, you will see a flyer that I shared with you.
How is she giving lectures?
Yeah, she's giving a national law enforcement opportunity, national law enforcement conference. She will be speaking in the days to come. And Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, who is Terrence's twin, shared that information with me. And I was hoping that by today she would have been able to get back to me and let me know exactly where this conference, this national conference for law enforcement, is going to be given, and more importantly, who was sponsoring it. So as I get more information, and can share it with you, my goal is to reach out to whoever it is that's responsible for allowing this woman to teach how to get away with murder. I mean, can you imagine that a national—
That's effectively what it is.
National law enforcement conference. That means that there are going to be probably some other police chiefs. And I wonder, what is that going to look like if black police chiefs that are sitting in there during this national conference? Are they going to get up and walk out? Or are they going to sit in there and listen to this woman tell them how she was able to successfully kill a black man? And we'll do it again. We'll do it again.
You know what? If they, Sergeant Dorsey, if they are not aware of their implicit bias, they may be inclined to buy in themselves. Implicit bias is subconscious. We're not aware of it. And if they've been in the police culture long enough and have kind of bought into, the separation between the police officer and the citizen, as in we're two different type of people, they might buy into it as well. So they need this comply and complain workshop for themselves.
Well,
so
I don't hold any hope out for police departments, to certainly, they're not interested in what I'm saying. They view me by and large as adversarial. They don't like you know, what I have to say, and that's okay. But what I'm saying is certainly available and accessible to the community, because we are going to have to compel police departments to do right by us. But I am just so offended that Betty Shelley was allowed to teach this class to a national law enforcement community. I find it just extremely offensive. And I can't imagine what the family of Terrence Crutcher, more importantly, Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, that's his twin sister. And, you know, for anybody who's ever heard that special bond, siblings have a bond, but a twin is a special bond. And I can imagine how heart-wrenching this is for this family to have this not only thrown up in their face that she's able to live her life and get another job, but that she's able to teach law enforcement that foolishness. And so stop by Sergeant Speaks Facebook page and take a look at the flyer that Dr. Tiffany Crutcher has made available. And if you are able to do a little research, as I will be looking to do, to see who's sponsoring, who's the driving force behind this national conference, make your voices known. I say all the time, every police department, police chief, they all have Facebook accounts. Everybody's on Twitter. Blast them. Blast them. So I appreciate you guys for coming back and finding me. Charles, thanks for stepping out of your meeting to come on with me. And I please ask all of you.
Thanks for having me.
To help me help you.
That's
take
right.
a look at my sergeantdorseyspeaks.com page. Please subscribe to my podcast, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. And as you leave both here on Facebook and on YouTube, please hit the like button. And until next time, be good and be safe. See you later, Charles.
All right, sis. I'll talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.